Good morning, students. Welcome back to our economics class. Okay, so here we have discussed with the third chapter, demand analysis. So till now, what are the topics we have covered? Only important questions from exam point of view I'm explaining. So in demand chapter, in demand analysis, we have discussed with law of demand, determinants of demand, why demand curve slope downwards, and also what are the here what are all the exceptions to the law of demand, and few of the VSAQs from this chapter we have studied. So in demand analysis, we are having one more concept that is called as elasticity of demand. Elasticity of demand. Just see, in this elasticity, as it is a simple topic, if you understand, you can write your VSAQs as well as 1 5 marks question will come from this. So that's why I'm explaining this concept over here. So generally, what do you mean by elasticity of demand? Elasticity means changes in demand. Okay. So elasticity of demand means here changes in demand with response to change in its factors. So demand is changing due to change in factors of demand. Like we have studied the determinants of demand: price of the commodity, income of the consumer, price of related goods and all. So as the prices are changing, price or income or price of related good is changing, how much demand is changing? So to calculate that, we use elasticity of demand. Okay. So now in this elasticity, we are having different types of elasticity. Types of elasticity we have. First one, price elasticity of demand. Price elasticity of demand is what here? The demand changes with response to change in price of the commodity. Okay. So price elasticity of demand is what? Demand changes with response to change in price of the commodity. Demand changes due to change in price of the commodity. All other factors remain constant. Same like our price demand, but here demand is changing with responsiveness because price has increased, demand is decreasing. How much? That percentage we are calculating in elasticity of demand. So the formula for this price elasticity of demand is percentage change in quantity demanded by percentage change in price of the commodity, price of the good. Okay. So how we are calculating? How much percentage change is there in the price? To that response, how much percentage change is there in the demand? For example, price increased to 10%. Simply see here example. If price increased to 10%, demand decreased by 5%. Okay. So we can write it as 5 by 10. 0.2 is the elasticity. So this way we calculate the elasticity, which is in response to the price of the commodity. So this is one formula we are using, or we can use another formula, delta Q by delta P into P by Q. So this is another formula. So two formulas we are using to calculate price elasticity of demand. What is price elasticity of demand? demand changes with response to change in price of the commodity. How much demand is changing with response to how much price is changing. This concept is called price elasticity of demand. Okay, now let us see the types of price elasticity here. After this price elasticity, we are having various types of price elasticity of demand. Types of price elasticity of demand. Okay, what is price elasticity? We said demand is changing with response to change in price of the commodity. How much price changes, to that how much demand is changing. That percentage we are calculating over here. The value, how much change is there, we are going to calculate. So now let us discuss with the various types of price elasticity. First one is perfectly elastic demand. Perfectly elastic demand means demand changes will be there, though there is no change in the price. Simply remember here, elastic means change in demand will be there. Elastic demand means change in demand will be there. Inelastic demand means change in demand will not be there. Okay. So now elastic demand I'm saying means changes in demand will be there, but perfectly I'm saying means no change in price. So here we can say it as change in demand, but no change in price of the commodity. Means demand is changing, but there are no changes in the price. So just see the graph. If you see the graph, you can understand it easily. Now on x-axis, we take quantity demanded, and on y-axis, we take price of the commodity. So what I'm saying now, if OP is the price and OQ is the quantity demanded, I say that demand changes are more, but there is no change in the price. Okay. So what I'm saying, how will price will be same, demand may increase or demand may decrease. This concept is called perfectly elastic demand. So we can write it as demand changes are infinite over here. So price elasticity is equals to infinite. It is also called as infinite elastic demand. So these are important for your VSAQs. So how I'm explaining, just you can write only these points for your 2 marks question. Okay. What is perfectly elastic demand? Changes in demand will be there, but no change in price of the good. Means price will remain the same, but our demand may increase or may decrease. We call it as perfectly elastic demand. So here the elasticity value will be equal to infinite. Now, second type of price elasticity is perfectly inelastic demand. What is perfectly inelastic demand? No change in demand. Inelastic, I'm saying. Inelastic means what? No change. Okay. No change in demand, but there is a change in price. Or you can write it as no change in demand. No change in demand, though price changes. No change in demand, though price changes. Why no change in demand? I'm saying inelastic. Inelastic means what? No change. So here you can see the graph here. With graphs only you can understand this clearly. On x-axis quantity demanded and on y-axis price of the commodity. Now OP is the price and OQ is the quantity demanded. What I'm saying? No change. Though price increased to P1 or price decrease to P2, my demand will remain the same. Okay. So this concept is called as perfectly elastic demand. In perfectly elastic demand, price elasticity equals to 0. Or we also call it as zero elastic demand. Okay. So this way we have the perfectly elastic demand, perfectly inelastic demand. Elastic demand means changes in demand will be there, but no change in price. Perfectly inelastic. Inelastic means what? No change in demand, though the prices are changing. Okay. So these are the two types of price elasticity. Then next type of price elasticity, it is unitary elastic demand. Unitary elastic demand is what? Changes in demand is equal to changes in price of the commodity. Means demand changes are equal to the changes in price of the commodity. So just see the graph, how much change in price is there. The same change in demand will be there. Okay, here quantity, price, OP is the price and OQ is the quantity demanded. What I'm saying, if price increases, demand decreases. So my change in price is equals to change in demand. So we are getting a demand curve like this. Okay. So here you can write elasticity value. Price elasticity value is equal to 1. Right? 1 means what? The value of the elasticity, what we are getting, like change in demand by change in price, if we do, we will get the value as 1. In that case, we call it as unitary elastic demand. P1, Q1. So you can see here, Q1 change is equals to P1. Okay. So this way we have the unitary elastic demand. Now, the next type of elasticity is relatively elastic demand. Relatively elastic demand is what here? Change in demand will be elastic, I'm saying, means demand changes will be more. So, change in demand is greater than change in price of the commodity. Means demand changes are more, price changes are less. So just see the graph, you can understand this one. On x-axis quantity and on y-axis price. OP is the price and OQ is the quantity demanded. What I say here? Demand changes are greater, but price changes are less. So, small increase in price may lead to greater increase in the demand. See, now P1 change is less, but Q1 changes are more here. So, like this, it will be our demand curve. Okay. So, in this case, elasticity is greater than 1. The value what we are getting for elasticity, it will be greater than 1 and elasticity is greater than 1. So, QQ1 is greater than PP1. This way we have relatively elastic demand. I'm not explaining in detail about all this because for your 2 marks, if you write this much, that is more than enough. Okay. So what is relatively elastic demand? Change in demand is greater than change in price. Elasticity is greater than 1. QQ1 is greater than PP1. So like this we are having. Now, last type of elasticity, that is relatively inelastic demand. Relatively inelastic demand. So inelastic, I'm saying, means demand changes will be less. When I say relatively, both price and demand will change, but demand changes will be less than price changes. Okay, so change in demand, change in quantity demand is less than change in price of the commodity. Change in demand is less than change in price of the commodity. Okay. So, see the graph here. Demand changes are less, but price changes are more. Price on y-axis, quantity on x-axis. OP is the price and OQ is the quantity demanded. What I say here? Change in demand is less than change in price. So, price changes. If price increases to the P1, demand decreases to Q1. So, see, my PP1 change is greater, but QQ1 change is less here. So, this will be the demand curve in this case. So, elasticity value is less than 1. Means QQ1 is less than PP1. See, QQ1, change in Q and Q1 is less compared to the change in price. Demand changes are less than price changes. So, these are the different types of elasticity, price elasticity of demand. So, simply you can see here, how many types of price elasticities are there? Perfectly elastic demand. What is perfectly elastic demand? Here your value will be elasticity equals to infinite. No change in price, but demand changes to infinite. Next, perfectly inelastic demand. Inelastic, no change in demand. So in this case, elasticity is 0. Zero elasticity. Okay. Then next one, unitary elastic demand. Unitary elastic demand means what? Change in demand is equals to change in price. So elasticity value is equals to 1. Next, relatively elastic demand. Relatively elastic demand changes are more, price changes are less. So elasticity is greater than 1. Means demand changes are greater than change in price. Next, relatively inelastic demand. Relatively inelastic demand means what? Inelastic. No change or less change in demand. So, elasticity value will be less than 1. So, you remember these concepts over here. Just go through the types of elasticity, price elasticity once. types of price elasticity: unitary elastic demand, elasticity equals to 1, relatively elastic demand, elasticity is greater than 1, relatively inelastic demand, elasticity less than 1. So for 2 marks, you have to write these points. Like for if they ask example, relatively elastic demand. Relatively elastic demand means changes in demand will be greater than change in price. So elasticity is greater than 1 and you have to draw the graph. Okay, after these types of price elasticity, we will do the determinants of price elasticity. Determinants of price elasticity. Determinants of price elasticity. Now we have seen what is price elasticity. Change in demand with response to change in price of the commodity. How much price is changing, to that response, how much demand is changing. So there are certain factors which will affect, which will determine the elasticity. Sometimes elasticity will be there, sometimes elasticity will not be there, sometimes there will be greater elasticity, sometimes there will be equal elasticity or less elasticity. So what are all the factors that are determining the elasticity? The first factor is nature of the commodity. Nature of the commodity. So here, nature of the commodity, when we say what type of product is that? Example, if it is a necessary item, will there be elasticity? Necessary, it is required for us, it is necessity for us. In that case, whatever may be the price change, demand changes will be less here. Okay, so in case of necessary goods, there will be inelastic demand. Means elasticity will not be there in case of a necessary goods like rice, sugar, salt and all these. Though the price changes, demand remains the same. And in case of luxury goods, there will be elastic demand. So in case of the nature of the commodity, what type of good is that? If it is a necessary good, elasticity will be there. If, inelastic will be there. Demand will be inelastic, no change in demand. If it is a luxury good, that means luxury goods we are taking with high price and all. In that case, if there is a change in price, demand also changes. So there is an elastic demand. So this is one determinant of our price elasticity. The next one, availability of close substitutes. Availability of close substitutes. If substitutes are available means what? If a commodity can be replaced with another commodity, like as we have taken example for substitutes at close-up and Colgate. If close-up price increases, people will substitute that with close-up. So elasticity of demand is there? Yes, there is an elasticity. Means if substitutes are available, there will be elastic demand. Means though if price changes, demand also changes. If there are no substitutes for the commodity, then there is inelastic demand. Means if substitutes are available, there will be elastic demand. If substitutes are not available, no substitutes are available, then there will be inelastic demand. Okay, then next determinant is multiple uses of the commodity. If the product is used for many uses, like example milk. Milk can be used for many uses. In that case, elasticity will be greater. Because if price decreases, we demand more quantity. Okay. So when the product is having many uses, there will be elastic demand, and when the product is used only for single use, then there will be inelastic demand. So just remember, elastic, inelastic. Elastic means what? Changes in demand will be there if price changes. Inelastic demand means what? Changes in demand will not be there if though the price is changing. If good have many uses, changes in demand will be there if price changes. If the good is having a single use, so changes in demand will not be there though the price is changing, because the good is used for only single purpose. Then another determinant of price elasticity, proportion of income spent. Proportion of income spent. If the proportion of income is very small, then elasticity will be inelastic, right? So if you spend low proportion of income, means for example, you are spending only 10 rupees or 50 rupees, very small amount if you are spending. So though the price is increasing, demand will not change. Okay, so there will be inelastic demand. Though the price increases, demand will not change. For example, you are taking a matchbox. You take a matchbox price is 1 rupee or 2 rupees, something like that. You are spending very little amount on that. If price increases like 50 paisa or 25 paisa, are you worried more about that? No, how much ever the price may increase, demand will not change. So that's why in case of low proportion, if our income is spent, there will be inelastic demand. Then if high proportion of income is spent, high proportion, more of our income, for example, you are spending around 30,000, 40,000 or 1 lakh, something like that. If there is a change in price of the commodity, demand also changes. So there will be elastic demand. Means if your proportionate income is low, inelastic demand. If the amount you are spending is high, then there will be elastic demand. Next determinant of demand is so here another determinant is period of time period. If you're using the product in the long run, longer the time period is considered, greater will be the substitution. So if the time period is long, there will be elastic demand. If the time period is very short, then there will be inelastic demand. For example, we want to purchase a two-wheeler. If petrol prices are increasing, in short period, can we make any changes in our demand? Immediately, we cannot change our mindset, or we cannot change the commodity, or we will not stop using that product. So in short period, there will be inelastic. Though the petrol prices are increasing, our demand will not change. But in the long run, we plan that instead of petrol vehicle, we can substitute that with electric vehicle. So that will take some time. So in long run, we have the time to substitute the increased priced product with the cheaper product. But in short period, we do not have the time to replace that. So that's why in short period, the elasticity will be inelastic. Okay. And next determinant is postponement of purchase. Postponement of purchase. For example, if you want to buy a car, right? If the price of car increases, you will wait for price decrease. Means these goods, like, it is not compulsory or something like that. If you're planning to take that one, you can postpone that. You can wait till the price changes. Whereas, for example, medicines are there. Medicines, though the price, whatever may be the price, whenever we require, we have to buy them. Okay. So, if goods can be postponed, then there will be elastic demand. No postponement is done. If we cannot postpone the purchase, then there will be inelastic demand. Okay, so these are the various determinants of price elasticity. This will be your 5 marks question from price elasticity. Okay, so see, only 6 points you write, that is more than enough. Nature of the commodity. So you can see here, nature of the commodity, what type of product is that? Availability of close substitutes. Substitutes are available or not. Multiple uses of a commodity. Whether the good can be used for many uses. If it is used for many uses, there will be elastic demand. If it is used for single use, inelastic demand. Proportion of income spent from your income. If you spend less proportion, then there will be inelastic demand. But from your income, if you are spending high proportion, then there will be elastic demand. Period of time. If the good is used for a longer period of time, you can substitute that with a cheaper product. So for the long period, elastic demand. For short period, inelastic demand. Postponement of purchase. If you can postpone your purchase, there will be elastic demand. If you cannot postpone your purchase, then there will be inelastic demand. So these are the determinants of price elasticity. You just go through these determinants of price elasticity here. As I said, this you will get it for 5 marks question. Determinants of price elasticity of demand. Okay, so these are the determinants of price elasticity of demand. Then the next concept in elasticity you have to prepare for 2 marks. That is income elasticity of demand. Now, as we have studied with price elasticity of demand, now we have income elasticity of demand. Income elasticity of demand means what? Changes in demand with response to change in consumers' income. So, what is income elasticity? Change in demand, change in quantity demanded with response to change in consumers' income. So, how we will write elasticity formula over here? Percentage change in quantity demanded by percentage change in income of the consumer. Okay, this is one formula. Or here income is represented with Y. So we will write it as delta Q by delta Y into Y by Q. Y is the change in income. Now delta means what? Change. Okay. Delta Q by delta Y into Y by Q. So this way we calculate the income elasticity of demand. Okay. Now in this income elasticity, we have two types of goods. One is inferior goods. For inferior goods, as there is a negative relation, the elasticity will be negative. For inferior goods, there is negative elastic demand. Okay. And for superior goods, there is positive elastic demand. Okay. So this way you have income elasticity of demand. So this question also will be for your 2 marks. See, in detail, I'm not explaining all this because only this much is required from exam point of view. Formulas, just you remember the formulas and all. Inferior goods, what relation? And superior goods, what relation? What elasticity will be there? This relation we have discussed in our previous class when we studied with income demand and cross demand. That time we have discussed why they have negative and why they have positive relation. So income elasticity of demand. What is income elasticity of demand? Changes in demand with response to change in consumers' income. So to calculate income elasticity, we calculate the formula percentage change in quantity demanded by percentage change in consumers' income, or delta Q by delta Y into Y by Q. For inferior goods, there is negative elastic demand. For superior goods, there is positive elastic demand. Okay. Now, next is the cross elasticity of demand. Next concept we have cross elasticity of demand. So this is same like our cross demand. Cross elasticity or cross demand explains what? It explains the relation between two related goods. The two related goods are either substitutes or complementaries. So for this cross elasticity of demand, you just see here. For cross elasticity of demand, change in quantity demand, change in quantity demanded of one good, say X, with response to change in price of another good. That is, say example, Y. Now X and Y are related goods. We are saying that related goods may be either substitute goods or complementary goods. Okay. So in this case, what will happen? When there is a change in price of one commodity, other commodity demand changes. So your elasticity, cross elasticity is equals to percentage change in quantity demanded of X commodity by percentage change in price of Y commodity. Or another formula you can write over here, delta Q of X by delta P of Y. Delta means change. Old minus new values, if you do, you will get the value here into Py by Qx. So this is the formula for your elasticity of demand, cross elasticity of your demand. So in cross elasticity, we have two types of goods. For substitute goods, there is positive relation. So elasticity will be in positive value. Positive elasticity of demand. And in case of complementary goods, there is negative elasticity of demand. So this way you have to write your 2 marks answer. So this also will be for your 2 marks only. Okay, what is cross elasticity of demand? Change in quantity demand of one good with response to change in price of another good. So elasticity, how we calculate here? Percentage change in quantity demand of X by percentage change in price of Y. So you see the formula, delta Qx by delta Py into Py by Qx. For substitute goods, there is a positive elasticity of demand, and for complementary goods, there is a negative elasticity of demand. Means in the type of good, when there is a negative relation, elasticity will be negative. Means minus sign will come in your value. When the relation is positive, then there will be a positive relation, positive elasticity of demand. So with this, we have completed the elasticity of demand also. So you can see all the VSAQs, what all are there in your answers in your textbook. So from this elasticity of demand, you can prepare with cross elasticity for 2 marks. Next, income elasticity for 2 marks. Then types of price elasticity, any type they may ask for 2 marks. Perfectly elastic demand, perfectly inelastic demand, unitary elastic demand, relatively elastic demand, and relatively inelastic demand. And these determinants of price elasticity of demand will be for your 5 marks. Income elasticity for your 2 marks. Just write down these points and the formula. This is enough for your 2 marks. Income elasticity, cross elasticity, okay, so in this chapter, all the VSAQs you see here, what is price demand? Price demand explains the relation between price and quantity demanded. Okay. Next, what is individual demand schedule? Individual demand schedule shows the relation between, it shows the list of various quantities demanded at different price levels. So just see the VSAQs, we will discuss what all we have discussed already here. Right. So first one, we have price demand. What is price demand? It explains the relation between price and quantity demanded. So there is a negative relation between price and quantity demanded. Then next question, individual demand schedule. Individual demand schedule. Schedule means what? List. So list of various quantities demanded by a consumer at different price levels. Okay, by individual consumer we can say. Then next we have demand function. Only the important questions I'm repeating here. All these we have discussed in detail in our previous classes. What is demand function? Demand function explains the relation between quantity demanded and factors determining demand. Okay, you have to write down the formula over here. Next, Giffen's paradox. Giffen's paradox was explained by Robert Giffen. In case of inferior goods, he observed among the low-income people, among the labor, that if the price of bread increases, people will not decrease the demand for price. Instead, they increase the purchase by reducing another commodity. So you have to explain that concept, right? Giffen goods. The next you have Veblen goods. Veblen goods are also called as prestigious goods, where if price decreases, demand also decreases. It is an exceptional to the law of demand. Next, income demand. Income demand explains the relation between quantity demanded and consumers' income. As consumer income changes, demand for the commodity also changes. So, for inferior goods, negative relation. For superior goods, positive relation. Next 2 marks question is your cross demand. What is cross demand? It explains the relation between two related goods. The two related goods are either substitutes or complementaries. Okay. For substitutes, positive relation. For complementaries, negative relation. Next concept we have, that is substitute goods. Substitute goods are what? Goods which are used to satisfy the same want. We can replace one good in place of another one. Then next one, complementary goods. What are complementary goods? The two goods jointly will satisfy human want. So, in case of complementary goods, there is a negative relation. Price of one commodity increases, demand for another commodity decreases. So, these all concepts we have discussed in our previous classes, along with the points we have discussed with graph also. You can just go through that one. And next question, types of price elasticity. Now, just now we have discussed this one. What are the different types of price elasticity? Perfectly elastic demand, perfectly inelastic demand, relatively elastic demand, relatively inelastic demand, and unitary elastic demand. Okay. Now, all the types of price elasticity also you will get for 2 marks. Just go through that one. And another question, inferior goods. What are inferior goods? The goods are of low price, which are preferred by the people when their income levels are low. In case of inferior goods, if price of one commodity increases, demand for another commodity decreases. Sorry, in this price will not be effective. income will be effective. If consumers' income increases, demand for inferior good decreases. If consumers' income decreases, demand for inferior good increases. And superior goods. What are superior goods? Superior goods are also called as normal goods. In case of superior goods, as the consumer's income increases, demand for superior goods also increases. As the consumer's income decreases, demand for superior good decreases. So these are the various VSAQs you have to prepare from this chapter. Along with these VSAQs, you will get 5 marks question. That is, first one, determinants of demand. Determinants of demand. Second one, law of demand and its exceptions. Then next one, reasons for downward sloping demand curve and determinants of price elasticity of demand. So these questions you have to prepare from this chapter. Okay, so out of these 4 questions, you will get 2 questions compulsory, and out of these VSAQs also, you will get 2 VSAQs compulsory. So these all we have discussed from this chapter. This completes your demand analysis. Just go through all the questions. If anyone have any doubt, just comment and you can ask your doubts. Go through with these types of price elasticity. Okay, students. So hope you all understood these concepts here. Just go through the important questions, what I have told you. And if you need explanation, you can check the previous videos also, where you have the explanation for all these questions. Okay. So prepare with these questions from this chapter. Easily you can score 14 marks from this 3rd chapter, demand analysis. Okay. So with this, I'm ending this session today. Tomorrow we'll start with our new chapter, that is production analysis. Okay. Thank you.